another segment of the Sit Down with Malik Wright presented by First Star Logistics. On this segment, we'll be discussing the future of 49ers former draft pick and current quarterback to some degree, Trey Lance. Daniel, I know you have your thoughts.
So Malik, well, one thing we talked, with both the GM and the head coach at the NFL Combine, we actually asked them about Trey Lance. So I want you to break down, because Brock Purdy was the sensation. Everybody's
Mhm.
saying he's the next coming of this. He's their future starting quarterback. They went in. They also brought in Sam Darnold. Where do you see Trey Lance fitting in with the 49ers future? Is he their starting quarterback? Is he their future franchise quarterback? Or are they going to trade him next year?
I just want to remind people on this for a second. So, a couple of years ago, there was a rumor that came out that Kyle Shanahan wanted Mac Jones. That rumor was true. Now, they obviously drafted Trey Lance, got overruled the whole 9 yards. From a talent perspective, we all knew Trey Lance was talented. For me, I think we've treated him a little bit unfairly. I think he was always gonna be a guy that needed work. He was always gonna be a project. He was always should have been seen as raw. Obviously, the injury he sustained did not help his growth, his maturation at the quarterback position. But I think if the 49ers are willing to weigh out the waters with him, essentially, I think that they can finally have a gem on their hands. I think Trey Lance is a freak. I really do, in a good way. That's not a bad thing. I think the guy is very talented. I think he can be a starting quarterback in the National Football League, if not for the 49ers, for some team. Um, it sucks that it sucks for Trey Lance that the 49ers experienced as much success as they did without him last season. It sucks for him that they had success from people like Brock Purdy. And now they bring in a guy like Sam Darnold, who's brought in to compete for the starting quarterback because we obviously don't know the status of Brock Purdy. And then you still have Brock Purdy planning to come back. So Trey Lance definitely has an uphill climb, an uphill battle. But here's one thing I want to say. Trey Lance is auditioning not only for a potential opportunity to win to the 49ers starting quarterback job, but to win a starting quarterback job here in the National Football League. And I think that when you look at Trey Lance, I think that a lot of people think what you've seen from him early on in his career is indicative of who he's going to be in his final form, and I don't believe that. I think Trey Lance has a lot to offer a football team. I would actually like to see the Niners give the guy a chance, but if they don't, I could think of a couple of teams that make sense for him. Like for me, I think the Minnesota Vikings at some point are going to move on from Kirk Cousins. I think that Trey Lance in a Minnesota Vikings uniform would look damn good. I think it would make a lot of sense for a lot of reasons. I would want to see Trey Lance end up in a situation where he's working with an offensive minded coach, a lot like a Kyle Shanahan, but someone that's more open to allowing him to play a little bit more freely into his skill sets. Maybe even like an Arthur Smith. Who knows what's going to happen with Desmond Ritter and the Atlanta Falcons? But for me, Trey Lance would get my vote for a team like that. So for me, I think that there's a lot. There's a lot still out there for Trey Lance. And here's another team that I have for you. If things don't work out with Baker Mayfield, maybe the Tampa Bay Buccaneers kick the tires on a Trey Lance. Trey Lance to me he can offer a lot to an NFL team. He can fit in many different systems and many different schemes. Um, so yeah, he's a guy that I believe in.
Yeah, and another team I'll throw out there too. This may be a little bit of a stretch, but the Las Vegas Raiders.
Mm.
I know,
Yeah.
I know that the Raiders, and this is one thing, this different topic for another day. But Jimmy Garoppolo, I think that he's going to see more success this year because he's got Josh McDaniels still there. They've got that connection. But I want to ask you, when you look at the 49ers, going back a little bit, do you feel like he was put in the wrong situation? And what I mean by that is a guy like Patrick Mahomes, a guy like Josh Allen, they were able to be creative with their
Mhm.
offense. The 49ers are in win now mode.
Yeah.
They're not allowing, they're not going to just let you, hey, Trey Lance, go play backyard
Mhm.
football. Do you feel like that's weighed in at all to him being, not as successful of a quarterback? Or what do you attribute his
I
quote unquote?
I I think anytime you're placed in a situation in which the coach doesn't you're not the coach's preferred choice is always a tough and rough situation to be in. So I think that Trey Lance was put in a very interesting situation in which it was almost like the odds were stacked against him. But I still think Trey Lance can control the narrative. A team that just came to mind that I was just thinking about as I was sitting here. Eric Bieniemy is now the offensive coordinator for the Washington Commanders. Eric Bieniemy, say what you want about him, he was a part of some really stellar offenses from the Kansas City Chiefs. He was able to get the most out of Patrick Mahomes. What if What if the Commanders place a phone call to the 49ers for the services of Trey Lance? Who's to say that Eric Bieniemy and the Washington Commanders can't get the most out of Trey Lance?
Who's their head coach too? Ron Rivera,
Ron Rivera.
Coach Cam Newton.
Yeah, he coached Cam Newton. You're right. So for me, that's something that I'm lobbying for right now. I would love to see Trey Lance in a Washington Commanders jersey. I really would. I think that could be special.
Yeah, and just one last thing I'll say is when I look at how his career's played out so far, of course, the GM, John Lynch, is going to say, we love Trey Lance. For me, I think the writing's already on the wall.
Coach speak or GM speak.
I think the writing's on the wall, Malik. I think his time, he'll be quote unquote given a chance. He may even get some run, but at the end of the day, they saw a lot of great success with Brock Purdy. They saw how their offense was able to run with a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo, and you don't bring in a guy like Sam Darnold just to flaunt him out there and say, hey, if Trey Lance was truly your franchise guy, you'd keep Trey Lance.
100%.
So, what's your prediction? Trey Lance, do you think he starts the year with them? Do you think that he finishes the year with them? Prediction, Trey Lance for this year.
I think he starts the year with them. I do. And I think it'll all be a matter of who has a need for a quarterback. I don't see them cutting him, and I would like to see the Commanders go out there and trade for him, but I just don't. I think that might be wishful thinking. That's something you probably do in the offseason. But if you like more video content like this, do us a huge favor. Give this video a like, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and turn on post notifications so you don't miss when we go live from the First Star Logistics studio.